I'm Sonia Baghdady, and you're watching Advocate Now. Here are some of our favorite moments from last month's episodes. GLAAD and the Human Rights Campaign are urging Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter to protect trans and LGBTQ plus users. Tell me about this call to action and what it means for the community.
Yeah, well, listen, we've been sounding the alarm for quite some time now here at GLAAD. We have a social media safety program that really speaks to that name, social media safety. And for a second year in a row, we found here at GLAAD that LGBTQ plus safety online has been met by failing grades from all 5 major platforms. And that was in our social media safety index report that just came out a few weeks ago. And that's been followed up now a few weeks into Pride Month here as we're coming out of Pride Month with this celebrity sign-on letter. Huge names: Shawn Mendes, Ariana DeBose, you name it, Camila Cabello. This is about sounding the alarm and getting our heavy hitters out there also. These are huge names with huge followings also that use these platforms as well. And these are names that are trying to use this platform for good.
Some of this malicious misinformation has resulted in bomb threats and death threats to care providers and trans youth. Tell me about some of the potential consequences if the call to action isn't met.
I mean, it just gets worse, is what's going to happen here. And not to name check our work so much, but, you know, with the exception of Twitter, the social platforms this year did make minor incremental improvements. So I will just say, if it's not for individuals and organizations like GLAAD who are trying to hold these tech companies accountable, they would be getting worse. Again, they are still failing grades from our marks, but what's going to happen is just we're going to see more real world harm. We're seeing this with Nazis showing up at Drag Story Hour, protests from people's houses, medical providers, hospitals being shut down, programs being shut down. It will only get worse. And we're really asking elected officials also to mind their words. Words matter. And they do know that. But we're also asking our elected officials and people who have influential voices to use their platforms for good, because it's only going to get worse if it goes unchecked.
You started meditating as a result of an illness. Can you tell me about what led you to meditation and how it played a role in your healing?
Yes, around the age of 20, I got very sick in many ways. I, had full body pain. Long story short, it resulted in me being, bedridden for about a month. And I had gone to all the doctors. I went to several very reputable hospitals, did all the tests. And at the time, I hadn't really known anything about energy work or anything like that. So I was going full Western medicine science route and full faith into that and trying everything I was told. And nothing was working, And I think out of that desperation came, I'm willing to try anything. And my grandmother had been into meditation she'd been begging me to meditate since I was young, and I never took it seriously. But out of that desperation, I thought, I'll try anything. So I turned to her, and she led me through several spiritual practices, very deep ones that led me through my healing. But one of the things that I actually ended up finding on my own through looking, into my own background, my own culture, being born in India, was I found mudras. So that's what led me to using them is that healing process. And they were a very instrumental part of going through the healing process.
The first mudra is called Murti Mudra, or the gesture of embodiment. It's done by interlocking all of your fingers except the pinky fingers, which are pressed up against each other gently, and then you point the pinky fingers down towards the base of your spine, placing this gesture either in your lap or a few inches away from you at the same level as your pubic bone. This gesture is excellent for people that have a very busy mind and want to direct that energy down towards the base of the spine, and you may even feel it pulsing or heat in this area.
And they are slowly becoming more well-known, but for those who aren't familiar, they're basically energy flowing postures and gestures that are said to connect the individual with the universal life force. They can be used for a variety of purposes, like cultivating self-love, releasing negativity, even healing illnesses, as you mentioned. What are some examples of the most commonly used mudras, would you say?
The one that I always ever tell everyone to start with is this one, because it's called Dhyana Mudra or Dhyani Mudra in Sanskrit, which translates to the gesture of meditative focus in one translation. So that's what it helps you do. It helps you enter into meditation. Being diagnosed with ADHD, I thought I could never meditate. I didn't think that that was a tool that was accessible to my mind. So this is the gesture that has helped me meditate. And even now I still get comments to this day that say, I have ADHD. I've never been able to meditate. I held this gesture for the first time I can meditate. So this is the one I say to everyone. This is your foundation. Once you learn this and feel the energy from it, you can use it to enhance any other meditation you use ever.
What's so incredible is that it really didn't take long for you to completely shift your perspective. I mean, within months, you created a TikTok to raise awareness for ALS, showing people what it's really like living with the illness. Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I think 2 to 3 months is probably shorter than most, but I had this kind of epiphany moment where I had to go to a friend's wedding and I was a bridesmaid. So I actually had to go. I mean, she probably wouldn't have faulted me if I didn't, but I wanted to be there. It was one of my closest friends from college and I had to show up using a walker. So I was like, all these college friends I hadn't seen in, some of them 10 years. The last time I'd seen them, I was active and, had all my life together, it seemed like. And now I was showing up in a bridesmaid's dress while using a walker. It wasn't my favorite moment. But as we were walking in, one of my best friends was there too. And I turned to her and I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to go. Let's just leave because everyone's going to be staring at me. And she was like, well, what if we just make it fun? Like, who cares? Let's just try to make a fun night out of it. And I was like, I'm going to try my best. And then probably like an hour later, we had the bride limboing under my walker. I was giving her walker rides all over the dance floor. Like, I think my friend's reaction just kind of flipped it, where I was like, okay, I mean, maybe eyes are going to be on me, mostly the bride, but like, even if people look at me funny, let's just try to make a fun moment out of it and try to make it memorable. And after that, I was like, okay, if I'm able to laugh at myself in this type of situation and other people were joining in, like no one was saying like, what's wrong? Seriously, we were just enjoying it. And I was like, I think I can probably share on a larger scale while still making it fun. I think people are nervous to talk about heavy diagnoses or, a death sentence. But I figure if I'm able to make it just a little bit lighthearted or add some humor into it, then we can get the conversation going and people won't be as uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then translating that wedding experience to TikTok. I mean, what has it been like receiving the support and feedback from others who are watching your journey?
It's bizarre. Like sometimes I'm convinced my mom has just created like hundreds of fake accounts and is writing all these nice messages. Cause I'm like, how are people interested in this? But I think there's something interesting about seeing someone who looks very much alive and, somewhat young, 34 young, contrasted to this heavy disease that people don't associate with someone who looks like me. But I've been amazed. I always say, like, if you've lost faith in humanity, go look at my comments because I get so much support. And it's not just comments. Like I did a fundraiser on Instagram at the beginning of June and we hit $100,000 in a matter of like a week. And wow. So, yeah, people are invested. And I think, they always say like Gen Z is like the advocate generation, like they always have a purpose. And I think that might be true. But I also think like TikTok just allows people to connect. And maybe someone has, someone in their family dealing with ALS, or they've heard of it before. Maybe they've never heard of it before at all. But I think people are interested in different types of stories. So I've just sort of leaned into it, and I probably overshared quite a bit, but so far it's only led to good things.
I'm Sonia Baghdady. Thanks for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, visit advocate.com and advocatechannel.com.